Yeah, I haven't heard much mention of it, but on January 17th was the 100th anniversary of Scott reaching the South Pole. Well, when he got there, Amundsen had already been there and gone. Because when Scott was planning this expedition, his backer, now Scott was an Englishman, his backer had him ask Amundsen, who had done quite a little Arctic exploring, what he should bring. And Amundsen's answer was dogs, dogs, and more dogs. Well, Scott didn't see it that way. They took ponies. Well, the ponies all died. And when Scott got there, Amundsen had already been there and went home a month earlier. And, of course, Scott died on the way home. But Amundsen's method, I mean, he had learned this from the Eskimos in Greenland, was, come here, Muley. Come here, Muley. That you bring dogs, come here, and if the dogs weaken, yeah, sure, I'm talking about eating dogs. If the dogs weaken, you feed them to the other dogs. If a dog dies, you eat the dog. Dogs are expendable. Now, Scott didn't see it that way. English people would never back him, he figured, if they were doing it that way. So instead, he took ponies. Well, the ponies, they died. So they ended up hauling the sleds by just man-hauling, which did not work. I mean, they got to the pole, but like I say, they were a month late, and they died on the way home. In fact, they'd have died sooner, but they actually picked up stuff that Amundsen had left on his way, you know, because he was traveling light, so we abandoned everything he didn't need, and they made use of some of his supplies. I dragged out my sled today because we got 3 or 4 inches of good snow, so I'm gonna start playing around with them tomorrow, I think. This stuff's got to settle a little. This is my oldest sled, the first one I made. Built real heavy. I use this for hauling firewood or when I'm trapping. I mean, it just could take a hell of a beating. It's a real heavy sled. But then later, I made this one, which is a much lighter sled, much more maneuverable. There's not much to it, but it's a long track, so it steers very well. You know, it keeps a good line. And this is probably what I'll use tomorrow if I take them out. But that one is a workhorse. If I need a heavy sled, that's the one I use.